to Charts and Hearts. I'm Sarah, and she's Lindsay.
And together we're working our way through an epic list of rom-coms in order to find and categorize tropes in the hopes of creating the nerdiest spreadsheet podcast I've ever seen.
And today it's EGOT month, and we're doing How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Which, for the record, we are aware, stars Whoopi Goldberg, EGOT. Not Viola Davis, also EGOT.
How? Why? How? I think I took it out of the last episode because I watched this movie before I edited that one.
Oh,
but
nice.
I know this is in a couple of other episodes. We talked to each other. We have no idea where we got the idea that Viola Davis was in this movie. Well, so if you've all been confused, that's fine.
So were we. I think it was literally like a copy-paste issue because we were like brainstorming EGOT people that we should find rom-coms for, and Viola Davis was high on that list, but sadly has not been in any rom-coms as far as I know.
No, just terrible.
Oh, but Whoopi's in this one. Also, the main person, I'm having a total brain fart.
No. I was going to say Angelica
Angela
Houston.
Bassett. That's
Angela
why I also
Bassett.
was having a brain fart, because I was also going to say Angelica Houston, who is definitely not in this movie. It's Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett, who is incredible.
She is amazing. And
it should be an EGOT.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Maybe that was the other thing. It's like, of course everybody in this is won millions of awards. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the Angela Bassett Taye Diggs one, where they are very sexy. And you think by like either the description or your recollection of this movie that it's like a fun romp, and then it's like sad and serious, and quite a lot of those.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a woman's novel. Like,
well, yeah.
It's got like Eat, Pray, Love vibes, and I haven't even seen Eat, Pray, Love, but that's kind of, it's like...
Yeah, it's more literary fiction than rom-com.
Yeah, definitely.
The first, like, half an hour is rom-com.
I know, I was into it, and I was excited, and then,
yeah, he gets whiny, and, spoilers, the best friend dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, let's talk about Whoopi Goldberg, EGOT.
Yes,
amazing.
So, something that's actually amazing, even though it does also work for Viola Davis, so keep that in mind. Honorary EGOT episode month person, Viola Davis, in none of the movies that we're watching, but she's part of this anyway.
She's in our heart.
They have all won EGOTs, and they have all also won NAACP awards.
Indeed.
Which is amazing.
Not the Patreon.
Yes,
Mel
not the
Brooks,
Patreon. No, but Whoopi and Jennifer Hudson, who we'll talk about next episode. So Whoopi has won her Oscar for Ghost, which we talked about in the summer. Her Grammy for a comedy album. Her Tony, she was a producer on a production of Thoroughly Modern Millie. And her Emmy, she's won like a dozen daytime Emmys for The View.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's also won numerous NAACP awards for all sorts of things, because those are not category based. They're
Whoopi. Yeah, they're like,
for being Whoopi, basically.
They're like activity based, not like amazing. Okay, so yeah, so Whoopi Goldberg plays the best friend who lives in New York. Stella lives in San Francisco, and she's divorced with a kid, and her kid goes to stay with his dad, and she's going to be alone. And even though she has like this high pressure job where everybody yells at her a lot, and has no work-life balance, she can randomly take a bunch of time off and with last minute and go to Jamaica.
And also her kid is like the most well-adjusted kid I've ever seen in a movie, and she has a high-powered job and an absolutely amazing house, and her sisters are like, your life sucks because you don't have a man.
Yeah.
And
yeah, her sisters are very judgy, which is like kind of the point.
Yes.
So then so she and Whoopi go to Jamaica basically to like relax. Well, for Whoopi is there to like hook up and have that kind of fun, and Stella is there to like relax and enjoy, and also like work out because she's a like pretty serious runner. And yeah, basically she's in Jamaica just to not be in San Francisco, whereas Whoopi's like on vacation.
Yeah, and she meets Taye Diggs,
yes.
And he's 20.
And she's like 40-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. And they hook up only once, which is another thing that annoys me. Not from like a rom-com point of view, but from like they have one night together, then they have a fight, and then she leaves, and then they like have this intense, weird long-term relationship. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, like they sort of chat and hang out, and then after a few days they hook up, and then they have a fight and she leaves. And then but they like leave each other voicemails and like call each other. Mm-hmm. And then so they have a long distance thing, and then
she goes back.
Yeah.
Her kid and her niece.
Yeah. And then they are like basically in a serious relationship. Like he introduces her to his parents without asking her.
Because he's 20.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know how to be an adult or have a relationship. And then, yeah, like his mom's like a year and a half older than her or something and hates her, obviously. His dad's a little more chill, but I think his dad's really, just more polite.
Yeah, and he also isn't really there. Like, you don't see him after the first meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she gets a call that Whoopi's in the hospital, and then she dies.
Yeah. Yeah, because Whoopi has had cancer and hadn't told her. And then dies. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Taye Diggs shows up at the funeral, which is nice. Like, that part I'm into. And then she's like, I have to go home. And he's like, okay, what time is our flight? And I was like, first of all, that's not how flights work. To,
like, invite yourself to just live with somebody.
Yeah. And then he lives with her. And they go through, like, this weird range of, like, it's so long. This movie is over 2 hours long. Yeah. And so much of it is them just, like, living their life. It's not a montage. It's not, and it's just them like, and then we did this, and then we all went, then, and like, for some reason my 20-year-old boyfriend came to parent-teacher night? Like,
yeah, exactly. And he doesn't have a job, and also doesn't do anything at the house other than, like, hang out, and then also play with her kid, and then I guess they have sex sometimes, but, like, he doesn't do anything. I'm like, what does this man do during the day?
Yeah, and then they, like, go to a shitty movie, like a fart,
an action comedy, basically. Yeah.
And she's so mad about it, and like everyone in the theater's 20 except her, and then they go out, and then like they run into her friends, and they're super rude about it, and the fact, and super rude that they went to this movie, which I'm like,
but then she pretends in front of them that she enjoyed it, even though in the moment she didn't like it, which, like, fair enough. And then it's just.
And then they have multiple fights about how he's young, and he's like, why are you so mad that I'm young? And she's like, I'm an adult, and these are my feelings, and you aren't validating them at all.
Yeah, and then he just, like, does big gestures, like, fixes up her woodworking shop, because before she, like, went back to work after getting divorced, she was super into doing woodworking and whatever, and wanted to do that, but now instead, because she needed to make money, she now is a high-powered, like, stockbroker person? Not really sure.
But then she gets fired while she was on vacation, which is against the law, Victor Garber.
I know.
And then they like then she like goes through this whole lawsuit thing, and then they ask her back, and she turns it down because she wants to be freelance, which is perfectly acceptable. And he's like, yeah, you can do it. And he's just like randomly there. And so I have two really big issues aside from the major issue, which is this synopsis of this movie was a lie. One is that Whoopi didn't need to die, and I'm really mad about it. She also grieves for like 4 seconds, and it pisses me off because, like, then it's just about the guy, and she's totally fine because her 20-year-old boyfriend is there.
Yeah, like she goes downstairs and cries like one night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend is there living with her, and she spent like 4 days with him in Jamaica, and now he's just in her house with her child. Her kid is like 13, so it's not like weird, but
no, but anyway. Like he's trying to co-parent and like
and he's like 8 years older than the kid.
Yeah. But then there's intermittent like sexy scenes of like they have a fight and then they make up because
they just have sex.
Yeah.
The other problem that I have with this, like, it's a problem I have with a lot of movies, and this, like, it's entirely to do with my anxiety and my financial anxiety, is that when people talk in movies and books about not having money, and then they don't do anything about it or show how they have solved that problem. It just annoys me so much. And I'm like, is this other shoe going to drop? Are they going to lose the house or whatever? So he goes to America for the funeral. That's fine. Then he flies to the other side of the country, which is also whatever, fine, and just lives in her house. And he is Jamaican and just is there. And he doesn't have a job. He's there on a visa illegally. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like he'd be able to be there for like 6 months at least without needing a visa, but
yeah, I have absolutely no idea. But it just is weird. And then so he doesn't have any money. She gets fired and is like, "Oh, I have a little bit saved. It's fine." And then flies back to Jamaica with her son and her niece, and then like has to emergency fly to New York with all of these people, and then fly back to San Francisco, and then doesn't really work for a long time, and then sets up a freelance. And I'm just like, and is like running a lawsuit at the same time because she got fired illegally. And I'm just like so anxious throughout this entire movie. And I'm like, where is this money coming from? How do you have food? How do you have gas? What is this man doing in your house? This is like Buffy season 6 all over again. I'm just like, this man is living in your house for free and you have no money, but you're feeding him.
I think like TV no money or like Hollywood no money.
Yeah, it's obviously very different than real life no money.
No money?
Yeah. But it's like, that's why I hate that they put it in things.
I know.
And I just, like, if they had been like, Victor Garber's like, you're fired. I fired you illegally. But here's a year's severance or something like, even, just change the lines a little bit.
Or like, anyway. I don't know, she had some other, like she, she's pulling out like her retirement savings or something. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the things we did like for a little bit. The kid is surprisingly not annoying. He's too well adjusted. But other than that, he's good. Like, they have a nice relationship, and he's, like, the actor is really good also. He's not too saccharine. I also love her house so much.
Gosh, it's amazing.
It's, like, up on the hills above San Francisco. It's got, like, little ponds and paths through the back garden, and it's beautiful. It, like, some of the decor is very, like, 80s, early 90s, but it's, like, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of this is 90s. She does have a tiny, like, macrame backpack at one point.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive.
And in general, just her, like, power suits and all of her outfits are amazing. I love it so much. There's also some really fun, I don't know about cameos, but, like, people who have later become much more famous. Like, Regina King is in this as one of her sisters, which I love Regina King so much. And she's, sassy and terrible to her sister.
Yeah, she's like the least terrible of the two sisters.
Yeah.
She's still,
Yeah. She's pretty funny. And Victor Garber's in it, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I need to add him to our list of actors.
Yeah.
He's showing up a lot.
I don't think there's anybody else that I like super, like there's lots of people that I recognize, but nobody that I was like, oh, that person.
Well, so the guy who I wasn't only paying attention because they go to like a barbecue at her sister's house and it's her ex-husband or brother or somebody.
I think it's her brother-in-law that maybe she dated in school or something.
Like before, maybe. So there's an older man giving Taye Diggs advice about Stella, which was fine and whatever. But I was like trying to figure out who he was because it was 1995 or whatever, and then I realized it's the old man doctor from Grey's Anatomy.
I didn't really watch much Grey's, so that makes sense.
No, it was just like I watched like 3 seasons, but it's just something like the way that he has a very particular voice, like so nice. That was funny.
Amazing. Okay, other good things, like just other notable things is, Taye Diggs got cast in this from Rent. Like he was in Rent when he was on Broadway when he heard that he got this movie, which is like, oh wow, like that's. I think it really speaks to both like him being a very good actor and also the fact that Rent was such a thing that people were going from that to being like the lead in a big movie.
Yeah, he's awesome. Is the secondary lead in this.
Yeah.
Here's a random thing that's not a hate, just a question mark. Is in one scene when she first meets Taye Diggs, we can hear her thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's only in that scene, and it's just so random.
I think it's the lazy book adaptation thing of like, we need to show that she's thinks he's hot but too young without like Yeah, so it's just that we need a shortcut. But yeah, it would have been better if it had been more consistent through the whole movie. But
yeah, and also, or just trust Angela Bassett to do that?
Show it on her face?
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure Angela Bassett gave her the direction of, like, there's Taye Diggs. He's interested in you, but he's 20. What do you think? Like, I'm pretty sure she could pull that off.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, and then I guess back to things we didn't like. So the synopsis of this movie is like, Stella and her friend go to Jamaica on a fun vacation and have fun.
Yeah, and she, like, have fun, and she finds herself. And I think the finding herself, and it's mainly actually the title.
Yeah.
Which is so unique and has been the thing this whole time, is that it's not, she doesn't get her groove back.
She doesn't get her groove back. She gets saddled with a man-child as a live-in boyfriend.
She's like, she goes on vacation, she has a hookup, which at that point would have been like, she gets her groove back. She, like, finds her sexiness and, like, wears a skimpy bikini or whatever, you know, what you would expect with a title like that. But no, she goes to Jamaica, she hooks up with a man, her best friend dies, and then she gets saddled with a man-child boyfriend, and then is just in a sad relationship. There's no groove back. She doesn't arc.
I know,
like,
unless
she gets a different job and her best friend's dead. That's her arc.
Yeah, and, like, I guess by some definition of groove, aka her judgy family, like, she has a partner and also he's younger, so therefore she's winning. Like, it's the same thing of, like, the man going through the midlife crisis and dating a 22-year-old. Like, that's not aspirational.
No.
And
she found a guy, but her sisters don't approve of him.
Yeah.
So that doesn't solve that problem either.
No. And I don't even... Yeah.
So I'm just, like, I'm really disappointed in this movie.
And then I would be curious, though, if you've seen this but also haven't read the book, read the trivia, or know that this is based on a real story, stop watching, tell us what you think, what you thought about the movie, and then we're going to tell you about the real life story, because,
Okay, so this was based on a true story of the woman who wrote it, and I guess the book. So she did this. She met a young man in Jamaica, and he came to the States with her, and they got married. Then, in 2008, something like that, they got divorced because he came out to her and was like, I am gay, and I only married you to get a green card.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Just...
Yeah, and so because I saw that, I read that, like, while I was watching the movie, obviously, I was, like, looking for it the whole time. Like, not that... Because when they got divorced after this movie came out, like, 4 or 5 years after the movie came out, and then, like, she sued him for all kinds of stuff. Like, it was a messy mess. And so then, it was like... I feel like knowing that, it makes a lot more sense of why he was so... And I mean, I think it's up for debate whether he knew he was gay and was, like, married her to just get a visa, or whether he was, you know, like, came out late to himself, even to himself later in life.
Himself, and was like, was like, this is love and also convenient. You know,
or no, like if he like didn't even come out to, you know, because like at 20 you don't know yourself very well, right? So if
exactly,
if it was genuine and then he realized later, it doesn't really matter. But it was like, so I don't know, just so then I was dubious of him the whole time watching the movie, like mistrusting of everything about him. So I think that also sort of squashed my otherwise should have been an enjoyment of him being very sexy. Okay. Any other observations?
No, just sadness.
Yeah, like do your research before you watch this movie.
Yeah, like I was like, like I poured myself some wine. I was like, Angela Bassett's gonna kiss Taye Diggs, and we're gonna have a great sexy time, and then we did.
And that's the first half hour of the movie, and then everything else is less good. Okay, tropes. So many tropes.
So, as I said, Victor Garber is here. He's not really a trope, but he's a trope actor now. I'm going to put him in the
especially sort of this time frame.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't really know what he was. I know he came out late also, so I have no idea. And this is like, so I don't know what he was doing. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, so this is pre-Alias. So he's like it's the 90s. He's closeted or whatever. I don't know what his experience was. He did Broadway stuff. So he did this. He did First Wives Club, and then at some point he gets Alias, and then everything blows up. Yeah. For the good. Yay, Victor Garber.
Indeed. And yeah, now he's in Family Law, which is amazing. So good. Okay. Yeah, we've got the super wise kid who's just, completely well adjusted, gives his mom advice about so many things. Like,
is like suspicious of tatings for like 5 minutes. Yeah. We've got the 90s airport, both at the beginning and the end. The end, it doesn't really matter, but at the beginning, she just walks in. And like, I know that she's dropping her kid off at the gate, but they just like run it up to the gate and just like, here you go. Have a nice flight. And I'm like, what was that? Must have that been like, I know I took planes, but I didn't know the difference.
I mean, the only thing I remember is because my granny would fly. And so, and because, she was older and would need some help. And so we would just like take her right to the gate. And then it had to become a staff person. Yeah. So, okay. So she's got the nagging sisters who are super judgy, even though she is like, super successful, has a kid who like, she's able to co-parent with her ex. She has a great job. She has an amazing house. Like, yeah, sure. Maybe she should have more fun, but
yeah, that's like a different kind of nagging.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there is some slut shaming. Like, Whoopi and Angela slut shame each other, but like in that fun friend kind of way. And also, to be fair, they are both like super horny at the beginning of this. They're like, oh, you're a slut. No, you're a slut. And then they like, both check out the like hot waiter. But then she gets home and her sister's slut shame her for like having a fun vacation fling. I just am like, no. She's like 40 years old. She's a responsible woman. Just leave her alone. It's not Bridgerton times.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing happening. Like she's making her own choices. There's a terrible other love interest, but it's really minor, but they're there. It's like the friend of the guy that Whoopi meets. Yeah,
this is where like the editing and the length of the movie really started to bother me, especially because the first trip to Jamaica really has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. But he has so much screen time in the first half an hour. He's horrible, and what if we cut some of that out and then it was shorter? But whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there's 90s clothes. I already talked about the mini backpack. And then it's just classic 90s stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, she's got the, like, sassy best friend who happens to also be black in this case, Whoopi Goldberg, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Just incredible.
But, yeah. But I don't know if it counts as, like, the sassy black best friend trope when it's a movie that mostly has black characters.
But that's true, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, still sassy best friend is also a trope.
I feel like this trope might just be Whoopi Goldberg that people then used afterwards that turned her into a trope.
Yeah, well, I would say that this comes up in, like, Always Be My Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That friend. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you do.
Okay, and then he shows up at the funeral, which is, like, shows up at the blank, right? Like, whenever the protagonist needs her love interest, he's there for her.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then at the end, he takes the taxi from her house to the airport, and then because of traffic, she's able to beat him to the airport, and then they meet up on the stairs in the airport. And it's cute, except by this point, you're super mad at him for being a man-child. Yeah. Or just a child. Yeah. And then, they have a big kiss at the airport. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, she's at the airport, and she's like, what if you went to Stanford? And I'm like, how?
With what money?
With what money? Did he get into Stanford? Can he apply to Stanford as an international student? Does he have those grades?
Have the requirements?
He has taken 2 to 3 gap years. I don't know how education works in Jamaica. But
also,
he's 20 and not in school. So
the price of Stanford versus medical school in
Jamaica,
very different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lindsay, does this pass the Bechdel test?
Technically, yes, but I'm giving it a fail because they kill the fucking best friend.
Yeah, and especially they kill the best friend to motivate the
motivate her to be with the guy.
Yeah.
And then she has very limited female interaction afterwards, especially that's not about talking about a man. Like, literally, her sisters don't ask her how she's doing after her best friend died.
No, just
and they don't also go to the funeral. Like, I mean,
it was on the other side of the country, but
I know, but I'm just
yeah, exactly. So mad. Okay, let's make a pie.
So this one's important, and it can maybe be just a second pie that we make by itself, because it's 100% best friends dying don't belong in rom-coms. And I'm mad I'm going to write a letter to this 1995 movie.
Like, do not classify this as a rom-com if the best friend dies. Especially if the best friend dies at the beginning and then it turns into a rom-com. Okay.
Yeah,
so
if it's like
the best friend dies like
finding yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, so should we just do two pies?
Yeah, we'll leave that one as its own pie.
Its own pie.
And then we have 3 slices.
3 slices in the other pie. Tay digs. So swoony. There is some surprise nudity. Like, when you're not expecting it. Because you're expecting it at the beginning.
Yeah, and then it's almost near the end.
Yeah.
And you also don't know how far it's going to go.
Yeah.
You're just like, is this going to be everything?
Yeah.
Which it's not.
It's not. Sorry. There's a lot of Tay Diggs' bum and other back body parts.
Yes.
And
good
Angela Bassett's, like, legs and arms and things.
Yeah, which is also incredible.
Like, back, but yeah. I don't know.
50? I feel like it's one of the main good things about the movie.
Yeah, okay, if we're taking, like, things that we liked about this movie. Okay, yeah. 50, sure.
Yeah. And then the phrase, "I'm old enough to be your mother," which she says about 7 million times. Then he, like, throws it back in her face, and he's like, "I know, you're old enough to be my mother." I'm like, this is a valid reason to have a conversation about this relationship.
And what you would like to get out of it. And just because you like each other doesn't mean that you need to be together.
Yeah.
Like 30?
Mm-hmm.
And then that leaves us with 20% 90s fashion choices. Because there are some choices. Like, she runs in loose-fitting, floor-length, hip-hugging, like, flared pants.
Yes.
As a serious runner in the 90s. And it's a choice. They looked amazing, but it didn't seem the most practical.
No.
But yeah, everything's very,
Yeah, there was a lot of patterns.
Uh-huh. And crop tops.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsay, what's next for them?
I think you may know my opinion already. It'd be interesting to see what 20-somethings would think about this movie, because it's very, like, we are her age and all I see is a man-child. He's an attractive man-child, but he's annoying me and I'm, like, not interacting with him.
Yeah, just, like, wash your dishes and leave the house sometimes.
And get a job, or talk about getting a job.
Yeah, or, like have activities. Okay, yeah, so basically, no. Do not want.
No. And, like, at one point he's like, "I want to have children with you." And I'm like, What? You're going to go to medical school and you don't see the problem of having child with
I don't think in real life they had children, but I could be wrong. I didn't look that much into it.
I don't know. But I'm just... Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
On happier news. What is next for us?
Okay.
And EGOT month.
Yes. So I can guarantee that the EGOT winner next movie is in the next movie, because it's Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls.
Yay!
And I know that she's in there because that's what she won her Oscar for. Hooray! Yeah, so that will be less annoying. I hope.
Can only hope. I haven't seen it since it came out, so that brings us to the end of our episode. You can always leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also find us on social media. We are at Charts and Hearts Podcast on Instagram and Threads.
You can also head to our website, chartsandhearts.com, where you can submit your suggestions for rom-coms and tropes for us to add to the list. You can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/chartsandheartsclub. This month, for EGOT month, we're doing a movie featuring not an NAACP winner EGOT. We are doing Robin Hood Men in Tights, the best EGOT movie of all time. And it will be a much happier episode, I promise.
Yeah, can only hope. It'll be ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. We would love to know your thoughts on this movie. Did you like this movie when it came out? Do you like this movie now? I'm curious. Tell me about it. And in the meantime, this is from the guy who makes a midnight run to the video store and comes back with Booty Call and the Lion King.